Okay, the much anticipated GLP-1 talk. Now, I have a ton to say about this, so I hope I don't ramble on too much, but this comes from experience, not with GLP-1 injections, but I'll get there, as well as a ton of research. Now, where I'm coming from is from the frame of my health history, which was eating disorders from age 8 till around age 30 with no reprieve. It just went from one to another to another to another, and doctors still can't explain why I am still here. I know I had my come to Jesus moment and I got restored, so that is the truth of the matter. But what happens is when you come out of eating disorders, when they're that severe, is the refeeding process. Now, this can go on several levels, but I will say when you are super severe in your disorder, it is the scariest time. This is when you're really seeing your mortality is during the refeeding, because you experience heart issues, liver issues, endocrine system issues, gastroparesis, which is delayed emptying, and all sorts of things. You have the mood swings while hormones are trying to regulate. And sadly, the mental health community likes to deem people with eating disorders as being bipolar or schizophrenic or having a personality disorder. And I'm here to say that is not true on any level. When your body is trying to reconfigure to survive, your hormones are going to drive a lot. And when those hormones weren't producing, and all of a sudden you're introducing nutrition that is trying to force these hormones in your bodily systems to come back to normal in order to stay alive, your body and your mind is going to go through a whole host of mess, okay? And a ton of pain. Now, why am I talking about this on a GLP-1 little blurb here? Because I believe that the medical industries and the pharmaceutical industries are knowingly giving people eating disorders to a point. Eating disorders take a lot of diligence, a lot of discipline. I mean, can you actually imagine not eating for months at a time and being a chemist in your head on how to get certain vitamins to keep you looking normal and acting somewhat normal? No, it takes a ton of discipline and a lot of sacrifice. And I'm not glorifying eating disorders by any means, but you do learn some good things that can aid you in life through an eating disorder diagnosis. Now, I'm not encouraging that by any means, but I like to look at the silver lining in everything. I believe that every experience we have is a lesson or a blessing. My 20-something years in eating disorders, I thought was going to be the death of me, number one. But number two, I thought that nothing good could ever come out of it. And when I had my come to Jesus moment and he restored my mind and I had the thirst for knowledge, I decided to dive into the Bible, health, natural means of healing, things of that nature. And then God brought people to me that I could again help, especially in the area of eating disorders. Now, I am one of these people that thinks that obesity is an eating disorder. It's disordered eating. Anybody who uses weight in order to be a shield to repel people away, or anybody who uses food or lack thereof to emotionally regulate themselves, anything for comfort, I believe that you are not utilizing food properly. Food is your fuel. You can celebrate with food, but it should not be your go-to every time you have a breakup or every time you have an abusive situation or a tough day at work. It's not good. When we look at this in alcoholism, people that go out and binge drink after a rough day and they need it to relax, they would be deemed alcoholic. So the people who use food to do the same thing, I believe, would have an eating disorder. Now, in today's society, we don't look at obesity as being an eating disorder because it is widely accepted. People are celebrated for their fatness. I don't agree with that, just like I don't agree about people being celebrated for their thinness. I think it should be a non-issue. But when it comes to insurance companies and the medical industries, there is a lot of hypocrisy that goes on between obesity and other eating disorders. So I have a lot to say here. GLP-1s are not what everybody thinks they are. You should do the deep dive on the scientific facts. But what you do need to know is that GLP-1s are derived by venom, amphibian venom. I think it's the Gilly monster. Now, not every GLP-1 injection or medication is straight up venom, but the other ones that don't have the pure venom are synthetic versions of the venom. So what we're doing here is we are injecting something foreign into our body that our body is rejecting, and that is making people lose weight and get detached retinas and to sap their bones and to shut off the production of oxytocin, which is your bonding hormone, which helps you communicate with other people and have that warm fuzzy feeling. It also gives gastroparesis and the delayed emptying that they talk about. There are so many side effects that come with the GLP-1s that it is maddening. Now, I believe this is for a purpose because the pharmaceutical industries are notorious for creating a problem and then selling you a solution. So you have a lot of people without critical thinking and people that feel very entitled and don't want to put any work, don't want to put any discipline into losing weight, and they want the quick fix. And right there in all the paperwork, it has the side effects. But these people want the weight loss so badly without putting in any type of work that they are willing to take that chance thinking in a million years these side effects wouldn't touch them. Well, what do we have now? We have class action lawsuits being started against these manufacturers of these drugs, and you have a bunch of patients whining and crying about what is going on. And I say, you asked for it. Nobody feels bad for the anorexic that is fighting for their life coming out of a disorder, and we go through the same thing. Our bones are sapped, we have gastroparesis, we have heart palpitations, we have liver issues, all those things that I previously named, we have all of that plus some. And we were diligent in learning how to survive on minimal or no calories, and typically over exercising until we couldn't exercise anymore, till we couldn't stand up. So now we have obese people with type 2 diabetes, and some people do not even have type 2 diabetes, and their doctors are giving them a prescription for GLP-1s, and many insurance companies are covering it, which gets my knickers in a twist as well. And they're pushing this, and I think this is medical hypocrisy at its absolute top tier when it comes down to this. Now, type 2 diabetes is completely reversible. How do you reverse type 2 diabetes? Diet and exercise. Big thing, diet. Big changing the diet. Now, GLP-1s, you take an injection, now you're just not hungry anymore. Now you have no craving for anything. So if you go into Merriam-Webster Dictionary and you define what anorexia is, it is a lack of craving for food. So these injections are literally giving people anorexia. Now you might say that this is not an anorexic type of explosion because of GLP-1s, because eating disorders are thought to be mental illnesses. Well, let's dive into that. When people are obese, that is a mental illness as well. They are utilizing food to stuff their feelings. Just like anorexics will starve themselves in order to starve their feelings. It's the same thing, just opposite uses of food. Okay? Now, eating disorder patients are required to go to mental health therapy in order to combat their disease. Obese people are encouraged slightly to change their diet and exercise, but most often doctors just prescribe metformin because their blood sugar is high. They'll get them on statin drugs because they are taught that they have too much cholesterol in their system. They get on blood pressure medication, then they get on diuretics and water pills, and it's just a whole mess of prescriptions when the easy solution is change your diet and exercise. That's it. Obese people are not required to go to mental health therapy. I have heard rumblings that people, before they get the sleeve or gastric bypass, that they have to go to a couple of appointments to a therapist in order to deem them healthy enough for surgery, but I could be wrong on that. But when it comes to anorexia, bulimia, binge, anything else like that is very demonized, and people just call them cuckoo birds, and that you have to go to psychiatrists and you have to get on antipsychotics and antidepressants and anti-anxieties and all of these things. Obesity, anorexia, bulimia, they all have the same root cause, in my opinion, and they're treated extremely differently. Now, I could not imagine a doctor prescribing a harmful compound to someone with anorexia or bulimia, knowing what the outcome would be and be able to sleep at night. But here we are with doctors going ahead and doing this, and they are raking in the cash because, of course, there's kickbacks from these companies. And now we have like a do-over from the coronavirus. Doctors were, if they were good doctors, they didn't participate in the whole corona thing. They told the truth and lost their licenses. But when other doctors started coming around and they were having a hard time sleeping at night, they had to come to the realization that they were selling out their patients in order to make money. And now we have another epidemic of that. We have doctors that are selling out their patients to make money. Now you could say that these obese people were never going to take the weight off themselves, so we might as well give them something. I think that is extremely irresponsible of the medical community. They take an oath to do no harm. And they failed miserably during the corona pandemic with those injections. And now here we go with GLP-1s, and it's very popular. And it was first aimed, I remember Wegovy, when I saw the first commercial come on, it was for type 2 diabetes. And one of the side effects was weight loss. And then all of a sudden, it has turned into a weight loss medication. And the side effects parallel what anorexics have to go through during refeeding. And now you have, like I said, there are all these lawsuits going against these manufacturers because, this is harming us. You were well aware. I believe that if people who are taking GLP-1s are okay with suing people after they lost the weight without putting any discipline in and without changing their lifestyle, then I believe that anorexics and bulimics and binge who were misdiagnosed and put on a ton of medications and given the wrong advice should also be able to file a class action lawsuit against the medical industries as well, and the mental health industry as well, because this is just so maddening for somebody like me. Now, I run into people at the gym and I see them losing weight and they're working out. There was one in particular, and he was very diligent, and he wasn't really changing much for the first few months, but I could see him working harder and getting stronger. So I stopped and I said, "You're doing a really great job. Just continue. You'll see the weight loss." Well, he got impatient. So he went to his doctor and he asked for a GLP-1, in which the doctor said, "Hey, no problem. You're right on the border of having type 2 diabetes. So instead of referring this person to a nutritionist or giving him solid advice on how to lose weight and avoid diabetes naturally, he just said, sure, we'll put you on a GLP-1. So all of a sudden, in a matter of one more month, this gentleman lost a significant amount of weight, and he came up to me. He was all happy, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing really great." And I was like, "Yeah, so what's going on?" He's like, "I got on GLP-1s." And I was just like, oh, man. And he's telling me how great it is. And I just said, "Did your doctor review the side effects with you?" And he's just like, "Well, a little bit." And I said, about your intestines pretty much paralyzing, the gastroparesis, the detached retinas, the bone sapping, all of that. And he goes, "Well, yeah, but I'm losing the weight." I looked at him and I shook my head and I just said, "And you will be my client in another year and a half. Because my business is going to blow up, because I know how to deal with people going through refeeding, because I went through it. But what puts a little kink in the chain link of this armor is the fact that this is synthetic and we're dealing with a lizard venom in somebody's body. Now, this was extremely hard during coronavirus when there were things in those injections, and still are in those injections, that are not natural to the human body. They're not supposed to be in the human body. So I got to the point where there were so many different side effects because every ingredient affects everybody's physiology differently, depending on their health history, depending on their eating and their exercise and their stress levels and all of those things. So it got to the point where I just started rejecting clientele that wanted to work with me in the gym and on the table if they were continuously taking these boosters. If they got more than 2 of the COVID shots, I just said, I cannot work with you because you're a liability. I might loosen up a blood clot because I don't know if you have blood clots, and the doctors aren't doing a great job of diagnosing this. You might have a lot of things going on that I'm just not aware of, and this working with you would mean I'd have to do at least 7 days of deep research on every part of your medical history, which means I have to have the HIPAA forms, and I have to have every doctor you've been to in the past 5 years and all of the results so I can figure it out. And I said, you won't afford it. You won't afford it. Very few people could afford that type of in-depth analyzing of their health history in order to make sure that I can actually help them. And I will say, I'm not proud of this, but I will say that the people that got on the bandwagon with GLP-1s and with the Corona shots, I really tend to not want to work with them anyway because they buy into what the talking heads say. And there's a lot of fighting going on with these people where I can put all the evidence in the world in front of their face, and because I don't have the letters behind my name as a doctor, they're not going to listen, and they're not self-starters. If these people were self-starters, they would have done the research on the COVID injections, and if they were self-starters, they wouldn't have taken GLP-1s, they would have gone to the gym and actually put in effort. I have heard people tell me, well, I tried to lose weight, and I tried to exercise and eat right, and it just didn't work for me. But I'm going to say this, in every single case, I'll say, okay, so what does a typical day look for you, food and exercise-wise? And I will say, their food is still horrible. They're still eating garbage processed food. They're eating less of garbage processed food, but they're still eating it. And that is the basis of their nutrition, which is slim to no nutrition in the type of food that they're eating. And they want applause if they ate a carrot. And then when it came down to exercise, they would walk for half an hour, or they would take a class. And in some cases, I would go to the gym to spy on them to see exactly what they were doing. I let them know afterwards. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but when things don't add up in my head, I would go at the time where I knew they were going and watch them take a class, and they were moving like molasses. They were not trying. They were just putting enough effort to make it look like they were trying. And they got comfortable in their complaints. They wanted to lose weight, but they wanted their food more. And I've had that discussion with other people that wanted to work with me. And I was just like, you're mentally not there. And I'm a little bit too hardcore in the gym for you to book with me. There are a ton of trainers out there that would be happy to work with you. But I don't work with people that take the easy way out. Like, I am here to make not just health changes, but mindset changes. I'm here for the whole shebang. And you're not there, and I'm not wasting my time. And yes, that cuts my income down a little bit, and some people get salty with me, but I'd much rather tell them the truth because nobody else is telling them the truth. If you are on a GLP-1 because of type 2 diabetes, you didn't try hard enough to change your diet and exercise. There is no reason anyone should have type 2 diabetes. If you're going to say, I tried for years, I'm going to say, how long did it take for you to get obese? How many Coca-Colas did you have to drink from teenage or childhood all the way up to your adulthood that got you in the position you're in? And you expect weight loss in 1 year. You expect everything to be fine in 1 year. My rule of thumb with people that are obese with diabetes, I said, if it took you 20 years to get this fat, then expect 10 years to have the body. It'll take 10 years to have the body and health that you want, healthfully. Now, are there shortcuts where you can get it in 5 years? Absolutely. But I don't know many obese people that have enough discipline to actually follow through on the programs that I give them, because it is timed. It is specific to them particularly. Their lifestyle. I leave no room for excuses, and I don't take excuses. So that's how I feel about GLP-1s. It is, in my opinion, poison. In my opinion, it is poison. And in my opinion, it is giving people eating disorders. Obese people still have the mindset of people with eating disorders. They just are fat instead of skinny. And they get an easy way out for this. Here's a drug to make you lose weight. And you might go blind, and you might not feel all the warm and fuzzies for your spouse anymore, so your sex life will plummet. The nerve conduction in your brain might not work the same, so your critical thinking, and you might get a little brain fog, and you using the bathroom, yeah, you're going to have a whole host of things going wrong there. And people really want the easy way out so badly that they're willing to risk the parts of their body that actually works. They're ready to go ahead and throw that to the wayside so they can wear a smaller dress size. I believe that GLP-1s is cheating. And I do frown upon anybody who uses GLP-1s. I'm just going to straight up say it. You can hate me for saying that or not, but people who have type 2 diabetes and who are obese, they work really hard to eat unhealthily to get that obese and to throw off your physiology that much that your body doesn't know how to produce the glucose and insulin properly, or glycogen and insulin properly. You work really hard to do that, and now you're like, oh, no, because I want to look better. It's really not about health. Type 1 diabetes is a whole other animal, so this does not pertain to type 1 diabetes, but for anyone with type 2 diabetes, it's your fault. And if you're taking the GLP-1s and you're having side effects, it's your fault. Nobody said, poor Andrea, when I was going through refeeding and going through that pain and almost dying from that. I didn't get the pat on the back. I didn't get the, oh, you can do it, poor you. I didn't get any of that, nor did I ask for it. I locked myself in the house for over a year and went through it by myself because I know I destroyed my body. Obese people need to understand you destroyed your body, and then you wanted an easy way to fix it. Now, the easy way to fix it is further destroying your body, and it's your fault. So you have to take ownership over it. And once you take accountability and you're willing to put in the work, then hopefully a good personal trainer, a good nutritionist, a therapist will come alongside you and help you get to your optimal function and work on all of the trauma that you need to get rid of that got you in the position you are in the first place. And then I wish you the best. But I find it comical that everybody who takes a GLP-1, I'll ask straight out, oh, are you taking a GLP-1? And they're like, well, yeah, but, and it's always the yeah, but. The yeah, but is a dead giveaway. They are trying to convince me as a health professional that it's okay that they're taking it. They already know in their head that they're cheating. They already know that they're taking an easy way out. And now they're surprised when the side effects are going to bite them in the butt. I feel no remorse for saying what I have just said. It is their fault. Same thing when it comes to the corona shots. I don't demonize anyone who took them. I know there was a big fear factor going on. There was a big push. However, I lost a lot of respect for people because they caved to peer pressure instead of leaning on critical thinking and their moral compass and their integrity. And that was disheartening. Now I'm seeing this disheartening. This is very disheartening as well. People who are on GLP-1s, I will not take on as clients, just as people who take the flu shot and take the corona boosters over and over again, I will not take on as clients. And that is not just because I feel some kind of way about it. It's because it really is a safety factor. Any massage therapist that is going to do deep tissue work on someone that's taking these injections, not knowing how it's going to affect the body, you very well could cause a stroke by loosening up a blood clot. Anybody who is taking GLP-1s, massage or exercise, that medication will move through your system faster, and we do not know how that works when it comes to brain activity. We don't know how that works with metabolism because there aren't studies out there to say how does venom work with diet and exercise. I think that they really jumped the shark in this ridiculous injection. There should be zero medication for type 2 diabetes. The only prescription for type 2 diabetes should be get your diet on track, here's a nutritionist, and exercise. That is it. Type 1 diabetes, again, whole nother animal. They need to get out, they need to have the insulin and the insulin pumps and everything else. But I'm tired of obese people being rewarded for their excuses. Okay, so that is my blurb on GLP-1s. I could dive into the science if you want. I would love to do that. That would probably take like a 3-hour video. So let me know if you want that. But yeah, that is my insight here from a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint. And trust me, I'm not alone. I'm just the only one who's saying the quiet parts out loud. Most people in health and fitness are rolling our eyes at this GLP-1. So good luck with it, okay? Bye.